All right, here we are live. This is Mac Bolin, owner and operator of Lock and Load Productions. And tonight we're talking knives, and I am here with a former unit member of mine, Jack Stottlemyre, knife builder extraordinaire. And before we get started, I just want to point one thing out real quick, just mention because it's been in the news recently. London passed up New York on their homicide rate, violence rate, because of not firearms, stabbings. And naturally, they immediately called for a knife ban. Yes, folks, you can't make that shit up. So, Jack, just to kind of start, we're not talking about dinner utensils or cooking knives here, but how would you classify various types of knives, you know, like say from pocket knives all the way up to
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. You hear me?
Yeah. Pocket knives up to what? I mean,
well, you know, Bowie knives, fighting knives, working knives.
Well, knives are tools, and that's all they are. They are not weapons. There isn't a weapon in this world. The only weapon is in a human's heart. You know, Cain killed Abel with a rock. And I guess they're going to have to outlaw all the bricks and brick homes and buildings in London eventually, because when they ban all the knives and all the sticks and all the clubs and the cricket bats and everything else in cars, they're going to have to ban rocks, because humans are going to find a way to hurt each other, period. So Amen. it's you know, I can't wrap my head around blaming an inanimate object for the murder in a man's heart. So I just classify all edged weapons that I make as tools. They are task built for what the customer wants or what they're going to use it for. So I hand forge knives, my own design. I wouldn't say mass produced because everything I make is handmade here, but I have a line of production knives that I make. I have 9 models that are on my website. So, and those range from just regular small everyday utility knives, hunting knives, field knives, karambits, crash axes, just whatever. So whatever the task at hand is, us as knife makers, we try to make a tool to match that task.
Right, real quick, what's your website?
It is rustickknives.com. I spell rustic a little different. It's R-U-stick, S-T-I-C-K. And there's a reason behind that if you want to hear
it. Absolutely.
Well, I made, while I was active duty, I made archery equipment for 17 years. I made longbows and recurves and self bows and all that stuff. So my nickname is Rusty, and I paired that with the stick bows that I used to make. So it was Rustic Archery. So when I started making knives, I just transferred the name, Rustic Knives.
Wow. Okay. So how, you know what I mean? Both of you and I come from similar backgrounds and served in the same unit for many, many years. How did you actually get into this line of work, the knife making?
Well, I'm going to back up a little bit. I was an industrial arts major in school. And I've taken every shop class that my school offered in Indiana since the 7th grade.
Awesome.
My last 2 years of high school, my junior and senior year, I went to a vocational school in the afternoons to become a machinist. So I've always built things, made things, worked with my hands and stuff like that. And as you know, everybody in the unit has a side gig. They're all weirdos. They always do something on the side.
Yep.
Gunsmiths, knife makers, or some pilots. They just do crazy shit. And that's what I did. I always made things with my hands.
That's awesome. So
go ahead.
When we talk, you know, before about knives, like let's say, How would you classify a marine K-bar?
That's
Field knife tool.
That's a freaking field tool right there. And I was in the Marine Corps. I've carried a K-bar since 1982. That's a shovel, pry bar, hammer, screwdriver. That's everything but a knife, pretty much.
Yeah, and of course, you know, even though it's not a knife, you know, we had things like the Leatherman or the Gerber multi-tools. Then, of course, you have your pocket knives like your Swiss knife that are, you know, practical, functional.
Yeah.
But you've made some stuff that's, you know, and I got to bring it up because I believe it was you made knives from a melted down minigun barrel.
Yeah, I make a lot of stuff like that out of steel from our nation's battlefield. And I actually I have a charity that revolves around that. But yeah, I use minigun barrels, Gal 19 barrels. I've got Russian tank barrels in here. I've got 40 millimeter cannon barrels off AC-130s. I've got 20 millimeter gun pods from F4 Phantoms from Vietnam. I've got A10 barrels, 30 millimeter cannon barrels. I've got everything in here. And so I make functional art out of those things, and I auction them off to benefit veteran charities.
And where can people go to check out veteran charities?
I do not have a website for that. I've got a little blurb on my Rustic Knives website. And when I make items, I post it on there just for show.
Great. So what is the process? I mean, when you get like, we'll say the minigun barrel or the AC-130 cannon barrel, what's the process?
Well, what I do is I'll take let's say the minigun barrel. I'll take that and I'll cut it into about 6-inch long sections. And then I got to chuck it in my lathe, and I got to bore the chrome out of the barrel because chrome doesn't want to forge weld. Once I get that, I split the barrel in half like a hot dog bun. And then I forge that into a flat sheet of steel. And probably about 1/8 of an inch thick. And it's about 6 inches long and about 1.5, 2 inches wide. And then I mix those with other carbon steels. So I'm making a sandwich. I'll go gun barrel, knife steel, gun barrel, knife steel, gun barrel, knife steel. So I have a stack about 20 layers thick. Then I will clamp those together and MIG weld them so they don't come apart, weld a handle on it, and it goes in the forge. I get that up to 2,300 degrees. I flux it, and then I beat the shit out of it. Wow. It's either in a forge press or in this power hammer right behind me.
Yeah. And, what was that temperature again?
2,300 degrees. And what that does is the skin of the steel becomes liquid almost. And all that steel just welds together. It just becomes one big piece of steel. And then I will flatten that out and draw it out in length. And then I will let it cool, chop it into 2-3 pieces, restack it, and the whole process starts over again until I get to the layer count that I'm looking for. And it could be 200 layers. It could be 1,000,000 layers.
Wow.
So it's just whatever the project dictates, that's what I do. Then I will forge weld that onto a core of knife steel and then hammer that out and then make a blade or an axe or a tomahawk head or something like that out of it.
Axes and tomahawks too. Yeah, you pretty much covered the full range of edged tools.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I don't just make weapons with this steel.
Oh right.
I made a Damascus tattoo machine frame for one of the guys down here in Fayetteville that tattoos a lot of veterans. So he's got some battlefield steel in his tattoo gun. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is. That's awesome. So how long, when you go through this process from say beginning to completion, how long does it actually take you to come to the finished product?
If that's all I did, it's not. It would take me probably a good week making the Damascus billet and then forging it out. Then I have to grind it, hand grind it to shape. I got to heat treat it. temper it. I got to make the guards, the handle, the sheath, whatever goes with that product. So it's a good week or two, solid. Over.
So, again, talking about some of the different knives you've made, because you made commemorative stuff. You've made, I mean, pretty much, and I've seen a lot of your work. You know, it's really impressive. Have you made any specialized knives for any individuals?
Well, yeah, I've got a lot of customers that request things individual. Now that's just a regular forged knife. That may not be a conflict forged knife.
Sure.
But yeah, I make stuff specifically for guys. I've got a lot of hunters out there, guys that spend a lot of time in the field or overseas, or I got a lot of group guys that come here because, you know, we've got third group right here. Got a lot of buddies in fifth and seventh group that hit me up, and they're looking for a specific tool for me to make. Just, you know, evolving TTPs that they've seen overseas.
Explain what TTPs are.
Oh, gee. Tactics, techniques, and procedures. Just the enemy's always changing, and the guys are going to new terrain, or they're coming against different new obstacles and stuff like that, and they just need a new tool in their kit bag to beat some of this stuff. So they'll come to me, and I'll play around, make something, and they'll help me tweak it, and then they've got something they can take back on their next tour overseas.
All right. Now, you make a lot of commemorative stuff, like we said before. You know, you do a lot of stuff that you auctioned off for charity, actually.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, I'm going to back up again. When I first started making knives, it was with Chris Williams from Wilmot Grinders. And Chris is a former unit member also.
No, Chris, obviously. I know Chris very well.
Yeah. He worked in TSC, and I was contracting like most guys do once they retire. I was working for some guys that we know. And my body's just shot. I had to get my knees replaced, my neck fused. I got to get my back fused. I've got threaded rod in my arm. I'm just beat all to hell.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. So I was like, man, I'm getting close to 50 here. I don't need to be walking through the swamps of Florida. So I was hanging out at Chris's shop, helping him make parts for his grinders, and I was running a lathe and a mill and everything else for him. And he was making knives, and I was, you know, kind of following along, and I started making a couple. And about my third night, he was like, "Jack, you're a natural. Here's a grinder. Go home and make knives." He pretty much kicked me out of his shop. And that's how it started. So I had I have a wired workshop in my backyard where I made archery equipment, and I just retooled for metal. And it was kind of like overnight, I figured, you know, this is what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to do this, you know, make knives and blacksmith and just make stuff out of metal. So that's where it's grown to. But Chris, I was really in a bad spot, and I don't mind talking about this. I've said it before.
Go ahead.
I had my issues when I retired. I was lost. I mean, that's all I'd known since I was 17 years old was military. Sure. And 14 combat tours and everything, in the brotherhood, and it was gone. You know, in one day, it was all gone when I retired, and I was lost. And I did some really stupid things. I got in trouble with the law. My wife and I were not getting along. I was not being a good father. My kids and all that crap. And then I figured I've got to do something to redirect this rage, this bad place that I'm in. So blacksmithing really saved my life. And if it wasn't for Chris Williams, I probably wouldn't be here right now, because he kind of turned me on to that and gave me the bug and helped set me on a straight path.
Amen to that, brother. That's awesome. Thanks you for sharing for that. Now, through the, you know, I mean, we talk again, you know, unfortunately, Mike's not here. I was hoping Mike Blackgrave would be able to join us, and I don't know if he's going to bump in or not. And I know you made him. Talk about the knife you made for him.
Well, I came across Mike Blackgrave on Facebook. I don't know how he popped up. Maybe we had mutual friends or something. But here's this big guy doing martial arts or whatever, fighting, and he's from Texas, and he's got the hat and everything, and this kiss my ass attitude. He does not follow any certain path or way or whatever. He does what makes sense, what works. And just watching him bust on people is just kind of funny. And I see him doing a lot of blade work and a lot of fighting stuff.
He does.
And Mike's got a really cool name, Blackgrave. How cool is that?
Yeah.
So I was making buoys at the time, and I was like, holy shit, Blackgrave buoy. Man, that just rings.
Mm-hmm.
So I made him a big old knife and put his name on it and everything, sent it to him for free. And then, of course, I got inundated by all his buddies. They wanted one too. I never made another one.
Oh, brother. Yeah, Mike's a character. And for the people who don't know what we're talking about, I had him on an earlier podcast a while back. But 55-year-old guy, and definitely somebody you would not want to fuck with. I say that. Of course, I'll say this quite frankly. A lot of us here that are speaking right now, when you hear that meme or you see that meme on Facebook saying, beware an older guy in a profession where a lot of people die young, pretty much that's where we're coming from. Because, you're an older guy. I know he is. I'm 61, and I'm 2 artificial hips, and I'm still in the gym 4 to 5 days a week and on the range 3 to 4 days and still shooting competitively.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I want to go back a little bit myself. I want to talk about, because obviously we had a lot of opportunities in the unit. We had a good budget and everything. We had a guy who came out by the name of Bruce Siddle, and he taught a thing called PPCT, pressure point control techniques. But he also taught the Philippine knife fighting style, or the STAR system. For people who don't know, look it up on the internet. Believe me, there's a ton of info on it. And one of the first knives I ever bought was a Gerber Mark II survival knife. Now, when they put the survival after it, I thought, well, it's a fighting knife. It is. It's a fighting knife. It's a two-edged. It's got the stud on the end of it. It's purely a fighting knife. And I know you've made a few of, I think the Sykes Barons, the Commando knife copies.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, sure have. I've made a couple of them that were real knives, and the other ones I made like that were made out of 9/11 World Trade Center steel.
Right. Bingo. There you go.
They went to organizations. One guy, I don't make things out of that steel for people to keep. I don't sell it. I don't trade it. I don't do anything with that steel. To me, it's HR. It's human remains. And it needs to be treated with respect and dignity. So I had a guy that did ask me to make a dagger out of that steel, but he said, I'm not keeping it. It's going where I used to work, and it will hang on the wall or over here and stay in that building for all of eternity. And that's the only reason I made it for him.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I've made some daggers, some fighters and stuff like that. Yep.
Yep. And I'm hoping, when I get my project off the ground, maybe I can have you make me a few commemorative items for my upcoming story if I ever get the damn thing published. It's a process. It's a process. Got the T-shirts in the works, but you know what? I'm thinking a few knives with the Misfits on it probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
Nope. Wouldn't be bad.
Nope. So talk a little bit more now. If somebody, wanted to contact you, if they had an idea, we talked about your website. So what would be the steps, the process for somebody, to basically have you make something for them?
I don't. And I want to caveat that I am so busy. My backlog right now is about a year wait for me to make something for someone. And it's gotten to the point now where I just cannot do customs. I can't make something that a customer wants. Now, there's certain charities that I build for.
Okay.
I'm building a knife right now for Task Force Dagger, and it will be auctioned off this fall. And it's a Randall Model 1. That's a minigun barrel Damascus blade.
Mm-hmm.
It's got some very special steel in the guard, in the pommel. And then the stacked leather handle is from the boots of Purple Heart recipients. And some of these guys were killed in action. And there's a few SF guys. And one of them, his father, gave me his boots that he was wearing when he was killed overseas. And he said, please, use my son's boots to put in this knife. So I did. And that will be auctioned off again this fall by Task Force Dagger, and help them to raise some money.
That could be in November, or
I think it is. I think that's
okay.
Yeah, I think it's November.
Okay. So, any advice you would give to anybody watching this if they want to get into this field? What would you tell them? What do you need to start? What do you need to learn?
I tell you that a great place to start is to join the ABS, the American Bladesmith Society. They have a 2-week basic course where they teach you how to forge, how to heat treat, how to design a knife, a proper knife. And you do your performance test. You have to cut a 1-inch thick free hanging rope, chop 2 2x4s in half.
Wow.
And that knife still has to be able to shave hair off your arm. Then you chuck it in a vise, put a pipe on the handle, and you bend it 90 degrees without breaking. And that's what you have to do. You have to build that knife for your journeyman's test. Plus, you have to make 5 knives to get juried by a panel of master smiths. Then you become a journeyman smith, and then later on you can test for your master smith. But the ABS is just full of knowledge and how-tos and all that stuff, and all the members are out there to keep this field alive. So all these master smiths out there are just willing to help all the newcomers, the upcoming bladesmiths and stuff. It's just really a great organization. So I would say start there. Start the ABS.
All right. So again, Jack, now how long have you been doing this specifically for?
I've been doing this full time now for about 6 years. This is my sole income. Yeah, 6 years. I just jumped in feet first, out of contracting, and I've added additional rooms onto my shop, new power. All my equipment I've pretty much paid for with cash. Just stuff I was making. Luckily, I have a retirement check to live on, so I could just reinvest into my business, and it's just exploded.
Amen, brother. No, I mean, I've seen your work, and for people who are watching this right now or who will watch it in the future when I post around, I've seen his work, and it's really pretty good. So once again, I mean, and like you said, I know your backlog, but if people want to inquire, what's the website again? One more time. It's
www.rustickKnives.com. And rustic spelled R-U-S-T-I-C-K. Stick.
Rusty stick.
Yeah. Rusty stick. Well, that's how it started. But there is some conflict forge stuff on there. Mm-hmm. I do help a lot of veterans. I've taken 100% disabled vets and brought them into our shop, taught them knife making. And Chris and I loaded up a pickup truck full of equipment for this guy to go back home in Georgia and start his own knife making business so he could provide for his family. We do that quite a bit. Everything I do is try to benefit a veteran. Awesome. I want to help a disabled combat veteran as much as I can. So that's what really drives me.
Yeah, that's great because there's a lot of them out there right now. Obviously. Now you're still in the Fayetteville area, correct?
Yes, I am.
All right. And of course, when we go to the reunion, we hook up. And like I said, I've seen his stuff. And for those of you watching, if you're ever interested in it, pay absolute 100% attention to what Jack here is saying, because he knows it. He's been there. He's done it. And if you want to know, this is the guy to talk to. So it doesn't look like Mike's going to be able to join us, unfortunately. You know, he's more on the aspect side. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I heard he ran into some problems on Facebook, which, you know, it's unfortunate.
That's typical Mike right there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he wears it on his shoulder and his sleeve.
He sure does. I love him for it.
Oh, me too. Me too. And I'll tell you what, folks, I say again, you know, if you ever see that meme, you're talking about a 55-year-old dude who's probably over, well, what is he, like 6'3", 6'4", 200 and something pounds, and never a guy you would want to trifle with. I guarantee you that.
I'm almost 6'4", 270, and Mike's bigger than me.
Yeah, he's a big guy. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to share this out there. Hopefully all you folks see this. You know, again, you have any questions, and by all means, please comment on the video. And, you know, if you're interested, now you know the guy to contact. We're talking knives here. And this is Mac Boland, and I'm here with Jack Stottlemyre, and know what an edged tool is. Have a good evening, and I'll be on shortly in the future. Jack, thank you so much for being on here, brother.
Hey, thanks, Mac. I appreciate it, man. And everybody else, be good to each other out there.
Amen.
Don't let this political bullshit tear our country apart. We're better than that.
Yes, we are.